Welcome in to the Locked On Packers post-game squad show. I am your host this evening. My name is Brandon Snyder. No, you did not travel back to 2014 in Seattle, but it sure felt like it, didn't it?
I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Packers, and the Packers have probably had worse losses. I can't think of any.
Hey, this is Jags. You got to be willing to play till the last play of the game.
Go Pack Go! It's the Packers Squad. Everything Green Bay Packers every week, covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from Titletown. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the frozen tundra with all the cheeseheads, the Packers Squad show starts now.
You are Locked On Packers, parts of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network, your team every day. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts. You will certainly find Locked On Packers, the number one Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for the fans who unfortunately know what happened this evening. They want to know why and how. As always, thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen each and every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL, and you get $20 off your first purchase. About as ugly as it could have been for the Packers as they fall to the Chicago Bears 22-16. This one in overtime. Of course, like we always do, we'll break it down. We'll dive into the good, the bad, and unfortunately the ugly this evening. Later on, Coach will take us to class, and like we always do, win, lose, or draw, we always hand out game balls. We'll do that at the end of the show. But, Coach, I'll start with you. That was a gut punch, a total one for the Packers. They had this one in the bag, up 10, Coach. With 2 minutes to play, they found a way to lose the game, and likely it seems like the NFC North as well was lost in this one. It felt like they put the 2014 NFC Championship game out there in Seattle on replay, but unfortunately this one was in Chicago against the Bears. Your gut reaction, Coach, after that gut punch in Chicago?
Yeah, I've been on both sides of that coin right there, winning it on the last play of the game and losing it on the last play of the game. But I tell you, the defense played really, really well. I mean, you're good. It was because it was 5 minutes and 3 seconds left to go in the ball game, and up until that point, defense. I thought my liner was going to be no Parsons, no problem. But I mean, I really did because they really, really played hard. They really did. But you have to play. You have to play to the last play of the game, and there was a lot of good things that the defense did today. But
a lot of good things that the defense did. I shouldn't bury the lead. The Packers obviously lose in this game, but they also lost Jordan Love, Peter, in this one. A concussion in the second quarter. As soon as Austin Booker hit Jordan Love, I think everybody knew in that moment that was going to be a concussion. Entered Malik Willis. Your gut reaction in this one as the Packers lose to the Bears in overtime 22-16.
It shouldn't have mattered. That's the thing.
I agree.
It shouldn't have mattered that Malik Willis had to play. It shouldn't have mattered because Josh Jacobs fumbles on first down inside the 5-yard line. It shouldn't have mattered because Romeo Doubs had his hands on the ball on second down on a perfectly thrown fade from Malik Willis. You have to settle for a field goal. It shouldn't have mattered because if Romeo Doubs catches the onside kick, you've got the ball in plus territory, under 2 minutes, 2 timeouts for the Chicago Bears. At worst, you are giving the ball back with under a minute left, having to score a touchdown, go the full length of the field to a Bears offense that had done nothing all game. That's the reality. So we can say, oh, Jordan Love didn't play. And Jordan Love didn't play for more than a quarter. The Packers were winning when Jordan Love went out. Bears fans love to point out that when Jordan Love got hurt in week 18 last year, the Packers were already losing. So I guess by that standard, the Packers get to win this game, right? That's nonsense. You should have won this game anyway. You had a 10-point fourth quarter lead, and you had this game won. What is so frustrating and what makes this such a gut punch loss is it really wasn't anything the Bears did. It was everything the Packers did. And those are the ways that this team just seems to find a way, Coach. They invent ways to lose a football game, it feels like at times. And you go, well, if Jordan Love plays this game, they win by 2 touchdowns. Maybe they went 0 for 5 in the red zone. If you go 0 for 5 in the red zone against most teams, you're going to lose. So this is one of those games that I'm going to be thinking about for a long time, because you don't punt. You get to the red zone 5 times and somehow only score 16 points. That should be impossible. That should be impossible.
Well, the last 2 weeks, what is it, Brandon? We were saying it was 1 of 9.
Yeah. 1 for 9 now. If you go back to the game against the Denver Broncos, and it's crazy too, because we were talking about it, Peter, before the show started. This was I think coming into this week, they were still the number 1 team with goal to go red zone at 42%. And tonight you're 0 for 5. The Bears are 1 for 2. And you convert on one of those, Coach. I mean, the game's over. It's a 3-score game. It's over.
Just like last week, though. Same thing. You do well in the red zone, that game's not even close out in Denver.
I don't know if, I'm a Wisconsin sports fan, the Bucks, Brewers, Packers. I don't know, you guys, if there's a team that I've watched more closely that beats themselves consistently in the way that the Green Bay Packers do. And every single thing that had to go wrong in this game for the Chicago Bears to have the slightest of chance in this one went wrong. We're not even talking about the little things that went wrong. 3rd and 20, and Warren Brinson is there for what should have been a strip sack and a 4th and, I don't know, a mile for the Bears. Instead, and
you're out of field goal range.
Instead, it's a 15-yard personal foul. You're back into field goal range, and you got a new set of downs, and the Packers would hold them to a field goal, but that would prove to be costly because the Bears would chip away. They would get the field goal, then later on would recover the onside kick and score the touchdown. It just felt like everything that had to go wrong for the Packers and had to go right for the Chicago Bears, it happened. And I don't know, Peter, you kind of talked about it at your tease. I don't know if I've ever seen, you got to go back to the 2014 NFC Championship game for the Packers in Seattle, where everything literally in the final 3 minutes of this game had to go wrong. And it did. And not only do you lose the ball game, you likely lose the NFC North. And oh, by the way, you still need to win one of your final 2 games to get into the postseason, which will now be a 7th seed, probably more than likely for the Packers. And it'll be another road playoff game, and probably against these Chicago Bears coming up in the NFC wildcard round.
Okay, but let me at him. Maybe,
yeah.
No, there's no maybe. I want the Bears again, because the Packers are going to go to Chicago in a 2-7 and beat the Bears. There is no doubt in my mind this is a better football team than the team that plays in Chicago. They just are. And with the backup freaking quarterback, man, this game was over. This game was over if Romeo Doubs just catches the onside kick.
Or bats it out of bounds, Peter.
Or bats it out of bounds.
Do anything but what you tried to do.
Right.
Like, if you're indecisive.
Second week in a row, Xavier McKinney drops an interception that turns into a point.
Again.
You can't tell me that the Bears are a better team than the Packers. You just can't. I do not believe it. If the Packers play this team again in the playoffs, they will win. I'm telling you that right now. And the 2010, I saw you mention this early in the game, Brandon. Jordan Love gets knocked out. Packers, they end up losing the game in a hard-fought game, comes down to last plays. This is exactly what happened in 2010. Matt Flynn comes in against the Lions. They lose that game. Now, you lose to the Patriots. You blow halftime leads in both those games. Guess what? The Packers went on to win the Super Bowl. This team is still good enough to do that. This NFC is still wide open enough to do that. But man, you had it right here. Even with Micah Parsons going down, you had your opportunity. You had every chance to go steal that 2 seed and give yourself home playoff games, at least 2 home playoff games. And it just it sucks that the Jordan Love injury has to rob you of that, because I do think if Jordan Love plays in this game, the Packers win comfortably.
Yeah, and credit to Malik Willis. Again, Jordan Love leaving the game in the second quarter. Coach, you kind of had talked a little bit about what you thought Matt LaFleur did prior to when we got on this show, and I kind of want you to touch base on that a little bit. Jordan Love leaves this game in the second quarter, concussion ruled out pretty quickly. I think right as the 2 teams were coming out of the halftime break, where the news kind of got out that Jordan Love was not on the sideline and was ruled out with a concussion. Malik Willis stepped in that second quarter, and obviously throughout the course of the game, 9 of 11, 122 yards. He had that big touchdown to Romeo Doubs. He also had 44 yards on the ground for the Packers offense. What was your thoughts, Coach, on the Packers offense? Matt LaFleur, Malik Willis. on how they handled that adjustment from Jordan Love going into Malik and obviously throughout the course of the game.
I thought he did a great job, and Willis just brings a little bit different dimension as a quarterback and as a runner, and he showed that tonight. And he did a great job. And he went 9 for 11, 121 yards. I mean, he didn't screw it up, and he made plays when you had to make plays. Peter, you don't agree with that?
Well, it's not that I don't agree with that. It's just that, like, third and goal, if he just takes off right up the middle, he's got a touchdown. Like the sea's parted, he's got a touchdown. And then on the play where he hits Musgrave for 25 yards, he's got Christian Watson for a walk-in touchdown.
He does.
And they mentioned it on the broadcast. And so, to your point, yes, he did. He did play well, I thought, by and large. But, like, Jordan Love hits Christian Watson on that play. And I don't know if he takes off and gets a touchdown in that red zone situation, but, like, that's what Malik Willis is out there to do. So there were plays left on the field, but that's what happens when you have a backup quarterback. I think you're right that Matt LaFleur did a really good job scheming around. I think he loves these slop games. He loves getting in and saying, okay, we're going to run every weird run game in our playbook. We're going to run long trap, and we're going to run single wing, and we're going to run zone read multiple times. That first zone read call, I'm watching the game with my family. I was watching with my dad, and I said, this is going to be zone read right here. And sure enough, it picks up the first down. Like, if anything, I thought they could have done that more. I love that element of Malik Willis' game. And I think Matt LaFleur did call a really good game overall and adjusted with Malik Willis. It's just that, like, stuff's going to get left on the field when you have a backup quarterback in there. That's why he's the backup.
But, guys, here's the thing. I give Willis a lot of credit because he got 0 snaps. I mean, guys, 0.
Yeah.
0 in the preparation.
But Coach, could I flip that on you and say
that
the Bears didn't prepare for him either? Like, they didn't expect Malik to be in that. The game plans between Jordan Love and Malik Willis. I'm not a defensive guru or a guru in general, but it seems to be a lot different. So I would counter Coach with that point.
But still, I mean, he just hadn't had the reps, but they were still in the red zone. They still got him down to the red zone.
Yeah.
And he had actually 2. We had a scramble that he got a personal foul on, right?
Yep.
We got late hit. And then that next deal was huge. That scramble that he had was great. I don't think Love scrambles like that. No. I don't think he would have made that. So he managed the game, and that's when you get a backup quarterback, that's what he's got to do. He's got to be able to manage the game. He's not going to be that guy that's like, yeah, we're going to win it for you. He just doesn't have that much of preparation time.
Peter, this was such a weird game for me because I'm watching the game and I'm excited. The Packers jump out to a 3-0 lead. You were hoping for obviously more points in the red zone, as we'll talk about throughout the course of the show. But then you see Jordan Love go down. And then I'm going to be quite honest with you. In the back of my head, and I know Malik Willis, and I love Malik Willis, but in the back of my mind, I go, that's probably going to be it. I think I may have even put it in the group chat. Who knows what I put in that group chat half the time. But in that moment, I thought, okay, well, there goes that. There's, Chicago's going to kind of seize the moment, take a little bit of the momentum. Malik Willis is in, and can he go toe for toe against Dennis Allen and the Chicago Bears? And then that was my initial thought. Then Malik Willis marches right down the field and gives the Packers a halftime lead and comes out of the third quarter, takes them all the way down, to the 5-yard line. Josh Jacobs, as you mentioned it, fumbles the ball, and then he continues to battle throughout the course of the game. Then I'm sitting there watching going, they're going to win this game with Malik Willis. Like, and not because, Jordan Love went out and they're going to lose, like they're going to win now. And then it was just ripped right from my heart, because the Bears would obviously walk it off. And it was such an emotional roller coaster ride that I went on this evening because, and everything else aside from just the game itself, right? You're talking about, you win this game, you're all but likely into the postseason, right? You're going to be the 2 seed. You're on the driver's seat for the NFC North. All of that now is gone for the Green Bay Packers. And oh, by the way, you also have to do all of this again next week without Micah Parsons. Like, he's not coming through those doors anymore for the Green Bay Packers. I don't know, Peter, like, can anything go right for this Packers team? Because it certainly feels like the last 2 weeks have been all bad news all the time.
It feels that way, doesn't it? And,
like, give me a break. Give me
sometimes,
something.
Well, sometimes you have seasons like that. where you just have the season from hell. And the Packers weren't doing that. They weren't having that season. And not to say everything was going their way. I mean, I think the Eagles had kind of a charmed season after the start last year. And sometimes that's just what you need. You need to have some of those breaks go your way. Luck is a first order term in the NFL. You need to get some luck in a game like this. The Packers haven't been getting it lately. And that's, that's just unfortunate. That's just the way that the ball is oblong and it bounces weird. That's part of the deal here. I'm going to sound like a broken record on this. You had every opportunity. You had every opportunity. You created those opportunities. You create your own luck, right? What does Han Solo say? I make my own luck, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So like the Packers, they made their own bad luck in this game. Like they did make their own luck. They fumbled if Josh Jacobs is not healthy. Like we didn't see Josh Jacobs very much in the second half, did we? After the fumble. Well, because he was hurt. So, but being hurt, should you be fumbling in the low red zone inside the 5-yard line?
When you know that's the only way. It's the only way the Bears are going to stop
all year, has he?
He has a few fumbles.
Yeah, and he's had some fumbles in his career for the Packers. Unfortunately, he's had some big fumbles in terms of the situational football that he's played. So that's one of your core players, Romeo Doubs. That's one of your core players. Like you had your opportunities with your best guys. That's what you live for, coach. Yeah. If you got Josh Jacobs getting the ball inside the 5-yard line, give it to him 3 times. You expect him to score, right?
He usually does.
If you could have asked Rich Bisaccia, they're going to kick the ball to one of our hands guys. Who do you want him to kick it to? Whatever our feelings for Rich Bisaccia aside, he'd probably say Romeo Doubs. We'd probably say Romeo Doubs, right?
But that deal is designed for him to get that ball.
That's what I mean. And it's still, like you botched it, you biffed it. And so this team, like you guys laughed when I joked about them stepping on every rake and tripping over their dicks all through the Broncos game. But like this is what they've done, and that's what makes it so frustrating. It's just play like the Bears had 10 penalties for 105 penalty yards in this game, 10 for 105, and they're stupid, they're bad, they're backbreaking penalties.
Obvious too, they're obvious penalties.
And you didn't have any of those, and it's so like even with all of that, you beat yourself. That's what makes this so frustrating.
Coach, it's the first win for the Bears where they were trailing 10 or more points against the Green Bay Packers. You got to go all the way back to the year 1960. You've mentioned you've been on both sides of the winning side and the losing side. Take me into that locker room when you lose a game, when you were up 16-6, not to remind Packer fans about the pain that they're about to, wake up to, but 16-6 with 1:59 left in this game. And the Packers lose. What's that locker room like? What's Matt LaFleur saying to those guys? What are those guys saying to the coaching staff? What's the energy like? Or what's the vibes like? What's it like in a locker room after a loss like that?
Well, the first thing you would have to say is, guys, we had plenty of opportunities to win this football game, and we didn't take advantage of those opportunities. We had our playmakers that have to make plays in the critical points of the game, and we just didn't do that today. But we still have 2 more games of the season, and we're going to get past this game here and then go to the next game, because the next game is the most important game. But I mean, the guy, it wasn't that they weren't playing hard, but guys just weren't making the plays when they were asked to make them.
Peter, you kind of mentioned, bring on the Bears, if that's the case, for the way that it's shaped up right now, there's still a slate of games to be played on Sunday. And obviously the Packers have the Ravens and the Vikings to finish off the season. So it's still a lot to kind of sort itself out. But after a loss to the Broncos and the way we saw them lose, obviously you lose Micah Parsons in that game due to an ACL tear. You lose to the Bears when you should have won the game, plain, flat out, should have won this game tonight. Does this change any of your expectations, even after the loss of Micah Parsons? Does it change any of your expectations going forward for this Packers team?
I mean, it has to, just because of what is in front of you now. I mean, just the course of events going on the road in the playoffs is just meaningfully different than hosting playoff games. If the Packers had held on to win this game, they're probably going to be the 2 seed. Now, maybe you get the Bears again, and maybe that's scary for whatever reason. Frankly, I don't think that's particularly scary. But if you beat the Bears, then it could have been a Lions win and in situation in Week 18 for those 2 teams.
Yep.
So you're probably going to face an NFC North team either way. You'd much rather that game be at Lambeau. And then if you win that game, you are assured of having the divisional game at your place. So now if you're the 7th seed, even if you go into Chicago and beat the Bears, now you got to go play either Seattle or LA at their place. And I don't know about you, I'd rather that game be at Lambeau, and I would much rather it be the 4-5. I'd much rather it be, I'd much rather see Carolina or Tampa get a chance to upset one of those teams. And then, who knows what your opportunity is. So yeah, of course it changes because the circumstance change. If the Packers had been at home, I would just have felt differently about their prospects. And if they'd pulled this game out, I mean, we went from saying we were talking about this in the group chat. We went from saying this has the chance to be the best win of the Matt LaFleur era and it not be close. And then it goes to one of the worst losses of the Matt LaFleur era. I would say one of the worst losses of this century, frankly, for the Packers, given the circumstances and given how they blew it. That's how do you not change your opinion of what this all looks like in a situation like that?
Yeah. And just to pile it on, I mean, you lost your best player a week ago, not even a week ago, 6 days ago. So you're just adding insult to injury, literally. For the Packers coach, we kind of have talked a little bit about it. This Packers team beating itself, the Brinson face mask, although that was probably just, very unlucky. He was right there to make the play. Williams just dipped his head down at the right time. We talk about the Josh Jacobs fumble, obviously the onside kick. It feels like this team cannot get out of its own way. When you see a team, coach, that always is kind of getting in their own way, is that more on coaching or is that more on players? Like if you had to pie chart the blame, where would you put that for the two?
I don't think as far as like blaming somebody, it wasn't that those guys are unprepared to go into those football games. I think they're very, very well prepared, but you still have to make the plays when the plays come your way. You have to do that. Again, I'm looking at that defense, and I would think in the building, everybody knew that they were going to play well. All the national media goes, oh, they don't have Parsons and all that, but they got that corrected right away, I thought, and they played their asses off tonight. They really did. But you got to play. It was 55 minutes. They played really, really well, and then really, guys, I got it 5 minutes and 3 seconds when they started their 2 minute when Chicago got that deal. So. As far as like getting out of your own way, the playmakers have to make plays.
Coach, you mentioned you thought the defense would play good. I'm curious. We've heard of like the coach bump, coach. Like when a coach gets fired, we talked about it with Mike Kafka when the Packers faced off. Like, they're going to have that coach bump.
Is there
a player bump? Like if a player like Micah Parsons goes out in that next week, is there a sentiment throughout that locker room? Like, okay, now he's out, I got to step up to a new level. And if he's out, I got to step up to a new level. And it kind of, goes throughout the entire locker room.
Yeah, I think so. And I heard that Heffley made a comment, goes, hey, you know what? Before, like last year, we were a top 5 defense. And they're the same guys in that room right now, minus number 1, right? But we were still a top 5 defense last year. And you guys it's the same group of guys. And I think that was the rallying cry all week in the Packer defensive room, is that like, hey, guys, we're still really a good defense. Now, does Parsons make us special? Yeah, but all those guys played really, really well tonight. They really did.
I have to shout out. I've been very negative in the last hour.
Fair. I mean, and rightfully so.
Here, and it's hard not to do that. But Javon Bullard, man, I can't say enough about Javon Bullard.
Who you can thank, right?
He looks like a different player this year.
Does.
And he steps in effortlessly, plays safety. Nate Hobbs played in the nickel. I thought Nate Hobbs played fine in this game, more or less. I mean, he got beat on the deep over, but like man coverage against a space like that, like that's you're losing on space. Like that's just a really tough cover in a situation like that. And then the touchdown I think it's on Keyshawn Nixon personally. We'll talk about cover 0 later, but like I felt like Keyshawn did the same thing he did against the Bears the first time, just tried to make a play, guessed wrong, and you got a guy open in the back of the end zone. Caleb makes a great throw with pressure, but Javon Bullard, playing safety, playing top down. They put him in the box. He made plays. They put him deep. He made plays. He tackled. He covered. He did everything they asked of him. I mean, that guy with Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney, they can just be so good for so long. And it really is a great thing for the Packers to have. Quay Walker looks like he's going to get a contract extension. He's playing his butt off this year. He's taken that jump that we started to see glimmers of last year, Brandon. And he has carried it over this year when he's been healthy. We just scratched the surface with what we're seeing from Edgerrin Cooper. That's the other thing.
Yep.
He's so versatile. He's so fast. This defense is so fast. They flew around again in this game. The final numbers, I said this on Locked On Packers Live. You look at the final numbers and they don't tell the story at all. 400 yards of offense for the Bears. They average almost 6.7 yards per play, but they had 187 yards through 3 quarters. They had 3 points through 3 quarters. It was really all that fourth quarter. And it was really all the last drive in overtime.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all. That's the whole game there. They score 14 points, 13 points, whatever, on the last 2 drives. And the game should have been over. Like that drive, that last touchdown drive never should have even happened, or at least it should have happened. It should have had to happen with a minute left and no timeouts.
And while we're being positive, if I can, Peter, because I want to pile on the positivity as much as we can, because every single Packer fan, including all 3 of us, are going to need it. Jordan Morgan tonight. Did you feel like the Packers were not good up front? I mean, they gave up 2 sacks. One of them was there at the end of regulation, where the Packers had 17 seconds on the clock and were looking for something obviously downfield, a long developing play. But I thought no Zach Tom in this one. You mentioned, Peter, no Evan Williams. That was a big blow for the Packers defense. No Zach Tom was an equally or bigger blow for the Packers offensive line. And Jordan Morgan stepped up before the game when the warmups were happening and it was announced, Peter, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Like this is not, I don't know how I feel about Jordan Morgan on the right side of the offensive line, but the offensive line tonight for the Packers, I mean, Packers 192 yards on the ground. Obviously they gave Malik Willis time in the pocket. Jordan Love, before he left this game, was 8 of 13. So again, I thought the offensive line tonight was something to be positive about. And they weren't fully healthy in this one, as the Packers do drop a heartbreaker this evening, falling to the Bears 22-16 in overtime. When did this one turn against the Pack? We share our turning points of the game coming up right after this. Today's Locked On Packers Squad Show is brought to you by Gametime. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it is going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting the tickets, that's usually the hardest part, and that's why I personally use the Gametime app. It is clutch. It is finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging those seats. With Gametime, you can track the price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. And the thing I love about Gametime, if you click on any event you want to go to, you can see a view from the seat that you want to purchase right in the app. Take the guesswork out of buying the World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL. You get $20 off your first purchase. Of course, those terms do apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL, and you get $20 off. That's gametime.com. Thank you for making Locked On Packers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. The Packers have fallen in heartbreaking fashion to the Chicago Bears in Week 16. 22-16 is your final. The Pack now 9-5-1 on the season. Peter, I'll start with you. Unfortunately, I think we're all going to kind of have the same turning point, but I am sure there's other things we could point out in this one. Looking back, the exact moment you felt this game flipped for the Bears and not for the Packers.
It's the onside kick. I mean, what more could you have asked for from this Packers team? What more could you have asked for from the offense? I keep notes on every drive, and I just put down, okay, Packers, I think it was their 8th drive at that point. And it didn't even happen. And I didn't even, like, it was so jarring that the onside kick happened. I forgot, and I went to put in notes and realized I hadn't even changed it in my note that they didn't even get the ball back. I mean, it the broadcast didn't even make mention of the onside. It was like they didn't even realize, oh, they're going onside here. It all happened.
Yeah, they did not. It was quick.
All of a sudden it was just like, oh, they're kicking it. Oh, they're kicking it onside. And Kevin Burkhardt like wasn't even that excited about it until it looked like the ball was free. And so that to me, I understand that the Bears had already scored in that situation, but the Packers had gotten the stop. They had forced them to kick the field goal to make it that 1-score game. And now all you have to do is get 1 first down and you win the game. You like one first down in plus territory now too. Like you still even have the chance to kick the field goal potentially to make it a 2-score game again. If all you do is pick up a couple yards, you give yourself a chance at a long field goal. Now, I don't know what you would have done, Coach, in a situation like that. Like if it's 4th and 3, do you go for it? If it's 4th and 6, but you picked up a couple yards, do you, I'm trying to think of what the math would be with the wind the way that it was. Do you try and punt and pin them deep? But I felt like that was the moment where I just went, okay, well, if this is how this is gonna go, this is the moment.
Peter, do you have the odds of getting an onside kick recovered?
I mean, it's low.
Very low.
It's very low.
I believe they said on the broadcast that it's a less than an 8% chance.
I was just gonna say the number that it sticks in my mind is 8%. So. Yeah, very, very, very low. The Packers win percentage when the Bears were about to kick off was like 98%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was huge. But the thing is, that was coached well. But Dobbs he's got to make that play. I mean, that's what he's there for.
Yeah.
Exactly what he's there for. At that particular spot on the field, it's designed for it to go to him. And you're right. You go ahead and get that and you recover that, game's over.
Anything, Coach. I mean, it felt like in the moment Dobbs was hesitant. Like he didn't know. He was kind of caught in the middle of like, do I go and get this? Do I let it come to me? Like, first off, be decisive in that moment. You have to be in that moment. Or number 2, bat it out of bounds. Yeah, you're going to get penalized. Who gives a rip? Like the Bears were down to 1 timeout. They had lost the 2-minute warning. So at best,
they had botched that play. So I just looked at the win probability, Coach. Once Carlos Santos kicked the field goal, the Packers had a 96.9% win probability.
That's right.
Because they kicked that, they screwed up a little bit. The Bears did. They kicked that field goal going into the 2-minute warning. Like they didn't. They costed themselves 40 seconds. That would have been 40 seconds on the game clock if they not had.
Yeah,
got that snap off before the 2-minute warning. And so when that happened in real time, I'm like, oh man, my 10-year-old sitting next to him, like they're not going to lose. Like I said, all they got to do is recover this. And
Brandon, here's something to think about. If they don't do that, if they fire drill it and they kick it off, they kick it with 2:08 left. Do they kick the onside kick?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Because
so the fact that they botched the field goal leads to the mistake, leads to the aggressive decision that pays off. If they don't, they probably just kick it off. And, you have, it's the same situation, 1 timeout to basically win the, I guess you get the 2-minute warning. So 1 first down to win the game.
Like I said, Peter, everything that had to go wrong, like literally went wrong. Even in the moment when you're like, oh, the Bears kind of screwed up this 2-minute thing. Like now they're going to go for an onside. Great. All you got to do is jump on it. And then all of a sudden the scrum and Blackwell comes away with the ball for the Chicago Bears, and the rest is history as the Bears beat the Packers 22-16. This one going into overtime. I think all of us collectively will say, yeah, the onside kick was the issue, the turning point for the Green Bay Packers. For me, there's 2 parts to it, and I don't think it's going to surprise anybody. It's the red zone for the Green Bay Packers. You're 0 for 5 in the red zone. We've already harped on it enough today, but Josh Jacobs fumbles that ball on the 2-yard line in the third quarter. Halfway through the third quarter, the Packers get that touchdown. None of this even matters. Like none of this, even if he gets a field goal, I don't think any of this really matters because the Packers would have been up, 2-3 scores in that moment. And we're not talking about when the Bears kicked the field goal or when the Bears kicked the onside kick or what the percentages were. It was the failures for the Packers offense inside the red zone. If you go 0 for 5, like you said, Peter, you are going to lose more games than you're going to win.
The thing is, Brandon, they still they fumbled. They get a 3 and out, and then they score, and they make it 13-3 anyway. And so it's like, even after the Jacobs fumble, they get the 10-point lead. They have a 10-point lead.
But you can't,
fourth quarter.
But for me, I'm sitting there, and I agree with you, Peter. I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, man, if Jacobs got in, we're talking about a 20-3 game, and I can relax. I can get ready for the show. We're back in the 2 seed. We're back in the driver's seat for the NFC North. And coach, that didn't happen. And I think that
it was 6-3 when he fumbled.
Correct. So it would have been
right. But so
it would have been 13-3 then, and then they went right down and scored
another touchdown after that.
It would have been,
may or may not happen.
I know the onside kick was a big turning point. I think a really big turning point, guys, was that face mask on 3rd and 20.
Yeah.
Guys,
I have that in my notes as well.
That put points, and that was absolutely huge when that happened, because they had him. It's 3rd and 20, right?
3rd and 20 at the 46.
Right.
So you get a sack. Now it's at midfield. You got to you got to kick, and you're still down 10.
Right.
They end up getting the field goal that allows them to onside kick. You're giving the ball back to Green Bay. So I've thought about it. I think coach is right. I think the field goal, like if that just is, even if he just forces a throwaway, just grab him and make him throw the ball away.
Yeah.
The Packers probably win.
Right.
And this is what how the Bears have thrived all season long.
This is how they've won all season.
I think this is their 6th win, trailing by 2 scores in the 4th quarter and coming out.
Statistically, the Bears defense isn't like in the top echelon, but the turnovers. What do we say? What wins ball games in the NFL and in every league, right? It's the turnovers, and they're really, really. Dennis does a great job coaching those guys to get the ball. I mean, turnovers are key to winning every game. You guys know that.
And I agree with you, Coach. And it felt like, because my turning point was kind of the Jacobs one, but the Packers only with that one turnover. I think they would have been in fine position nonetheless without, not winning the turnover battle in this one. The Packers didn't really give the ball away to the Bears like we saw in the first drive with the Packers at Lambeau Field, where Jordan Love threw that pick to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Like, this was a good play by the Bears defense, stripping Josh Jacobs. Obviously, Jacobs needs to hold on to that ball, but overall, I think it was a relatively clean game from the Packers, in the turnover battle. It's just the timing of that turnover and where it happened. You know what I mean? Like, that's the biggest thing. You're going in to score. You're thinking in the back of your mind, Coach, hey, this is at least 3. Like, and maybe if you're Matt LaFleur, you're like, we got 4 downs to get this ball into the end zone. Like, maybe they're not even thinking about a field goal. Maybe they're thinking about punching it right in. And it's just the little things that kind of just tallied up for the Packers. And it was the straw that broke the camel's back today. And everything that had to go wrong, unfortunately, went wrong for the Packers. Tough one today for the Packers. They do fall to the Bears in devastating fashion. Not only did they lose the game, they lost Jordan Love in this one due to a concussion. The battle for the NFC North likely over now as the Bears hold on for the 22-16 win. They are 11-4. The Packers 9-5-1. What play, what decision, what sequence caught the attention of Coach? He takes us to class right after this. Today's Locked On Packers Squad Show is brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of the sports this season, whether you're following the NFL, the NBA, or both. There's not a better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players' stats, and if you get them right, you win. That's all it is. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates. That's including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the PrizePick app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL, and you get $50 in lineups after you play your first dollar lineup. Once again, that code is LOCKEDONNFL, and you get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Tough one for the Pack as they fall to the Bears in Week 16 in overtime. The Packers at one point up 16-6 with 2 minutes to go. Jordan Love leaving this game early in the second quarter. Romeo Doubs biffing the onside kick from Cairo Santos. The Bears would recover. They would score a touchdown. They would tie things up. It would go to overtime. The Pack would fumble on their first possession in overtime, and the Bears with a bomb from Caleb Williams to DJ Moore, walk off the Packers for the 22-16 win. Coach, every week you take us to class. What play, what decision, what sequence caught your attention this evening in the Packers Week 16 loss?
All right, ball's on the 6-yard line. Bears got the ball on the 6-yard line. It's 3rd and goal from the 6. Hafley brings a zero blitz. What's zero blitz? Zero blitz means that they're locked up on all the receivers, and they're bringing one more than they can pick up in the pass protection. And we had a free runner. We had a free runner both those times on the 3rd down and 6, and then the 4th and goal on the 6. And what happened, I don't know how they screwed up in the back end, but we had a free runner. We had a free runner right in Caleb's face, and he ended up getting the ball off. But they screwed up the coverage on the back end. And I don't know how that happens in zero coverage. You got number 1, you got number 2, and that's what it is. There's no switching anything off. And for whatever reason, they turned Walker completely loose in the end zone, and he just threw it up. But I don't understand how that happened, Peter. I don't know. Yeah,
I think the thing that frustrates me the most about that play is Jeff Hafley dialed it up at the perfect time. Like everything,
he did it back to back.
He did, but in that moment, like there was nowhere else. Caleb had one option. If he's not left completely wide open, I don't even know. Like, I don't even want to go back and watch the highlights, but I don't even know if Peter is in the screen, like the screen grab for the coverage as Jahade Walker catches that in the back of the end zone. And that would eventually tie the game up. I thought Ben Johnson would go for 2 in that moment, but he did not. He kicked the extra point. The Bears would tie it up at 16, and they would go to overtime.
I was shocked he didn't go for 2.
I was shocked too.
Well, I wasn't.
He said, Coach, he said after week 14, when the Packers beat him at Lambeau, he goes, if Caleb scores that touchdown, they were going to go for 2. And maybe they're on the road, and maybe in that moment for Ben Johnson, he had
backup quarterback. You feel like in OT you can beat him, but like I would have gone for it.
Did you think they had like momentum going? I don't think I would have gone for it, but that's why I'm sitting here doing the Packer podcast.
Yeah, I guess. That part was pretty shocking to me. I mean, you have the zero, right? You have the pressure. You get the pressure. Yeah, Caleb makes an unbelievable throw. I mean, the arm talent on that guy, some of the passes, I mean, he missed plenty of in this game. Like the final numbers for him is not going to be impressive. He was like 10 for 24 at one point. The final numbers are 19 of 34. But he did have the touchdown at the end. I mean, that obviously that throw, I think it was a 57. I was just looking at it, a 57 air yard throw with a half a yard of separation. I mean, that's a dot. That was a dime to DJ Moore, the game-winning touchdown. So, and that Quay Walker is bearing down on him. Like he makes a hell of a throw in that situation. It reminded him, like, was your first thought not the game-losing touchdown, the Doug Baldwin touchdown from Seattle 2014? Like it's almost a carbon copy of it in a lot of ways, because the Packer Dom Capers dialed up the pressure. The pressure got there, and the quarterback just makes a perfect play. It's one-on-one coverage down the field, and you're your best cover corner against their receiver, and you lose.
Yeah, the thing is on that one to Walker in the corner, everybody did their job. Everybody but one guy.
Yeah,
everybody, because it got home. I mean, that pressure was getting home because we had a free runner on Williams, but one guy didn't do it. One guy didn't do the onside. One guy didn't do the zero blitz right. One guy didn't. It's just one guy after the other.
And Coach, like, here's the thing: there's a double-edged sword to guys freelancing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Evan Williams freelances on the final play against the Bears the first time, and he's chasing Caleb. And Keyshawn Nixon feels Cole Kmet. He freelances, and he makes the game-winning play. Zero blitz, Nate Hobbs, Keyshawn Nixon. I don't know if it was we didn't pass this off properly or what their issue was. I think it was probably just Keyshawn Nixon freelancing a little bit, and you leave a guy wide open. I think you could also say Evan Williams. If Evan Williams is playing, that's Javon Bullard and Keyshawn Nixon, and maybe they communicate better on that. Maybe they have a better feel for, hey, when we do this, we're going to do that. Or when they do this, we're going to do that. I mean, there's the time under tension part of this too, that you've lost when it's Nate Hobbs and Keyshawn Nixon, not Javon Bullard and Keyshawn Nixon. And so that's a piece of this too, where part of the injuries happen. And then, so now you've got guys in there that just don't have the continuity. You got banjo calls and you can do all those things, pass it off. because they did get they were expecting a blitz and man coverage, and they got it. But still, all you have to do is play it 30% better than you played it, and it's probably not a touchdown.
Yeah, and don't try passing it off. You got him, I got you, and we're good, right? Just go play football, because you're expecting when Jeff calls that zero blitz, he's expecting to get home, and it's going to be a tight throw. Right?
So that's my point. Is like, what are you looking at if you're the corner?
I have no idea. I mean,
eyes in the backfield.
The corner's got number 1, safety's got number 2. That's how it works in zero coverage. Everyone's manned up.
Was it a fear, Peter, that Williams, like, I know he made some great throws. I completely agree with you. The arm talent is really good. And you got to give him credit where credit is due. And tonight he balled out when he absolutely had to. Was it a fear of his mobility that I'm guessing was something peaking in the backfield? Because that's, the
it
way
could have been. Honestly, I'd have to go back. I hate to do them. I'd hate to have to like do the Matt LaFleur thing, but like,
got to watch the tape.
I do kind of have to go watch the tape. But it certainly could have been. That was certainly the case on the play that they got the interception 2 weeks ago. That the fear of Caleb running was the reason that Quay is flying to the ball and Williams is flying to the ball. Everyone is going to chase Caleb. It certainly is because Caleb escapes the pocket, right? They send the pressure. They get home in that they create the pressure. Then Caleb rolls to his right. And I think that's what Keyshawn is keying. He's going, if he gets to the corner, I don't know if my linebackers can get there. I may have to peel off here. And if he just runs with the receiver, maybe Caleb Williams doesn't have an opportunity. Maybe he gets the first down, but maybe it's not a touchdown. That's a big difference.
Coach, we'll touch base on this during the midweek, but I'm curious because we've kind of hit it a few times now. The Packers should have won this game, a plus 96% chance to win this one with Malik Willis stepping in for the injured Jordan Love, who again suffered a concussion in the second quarter. They're up 16-6 with 2 minutes left. It felt like an early Christmas gift for Packer fans, beating the Bears in Chicago, taking the lead again in the NFC North, controlling a bit of their own destiny, hopefully securing a home playoff game. All of that wiped away. As a coach who's been in these moments, who's been in these low points of the season, how do you get your team past this emotional letdown that we just saw, this collapse, I should say, in Chicago?
I think as a coach, you always want to take the opportunity to have a learning moment and a teaching moment. And this game, and whether you might believe this or not, is going to carry over for the next 2 weeks. It really is, because there's still a lot to play for. And the thing is, right, guys, you want to get into the playoffs. And you might not like the seed that you're at right now, but you got to get right now. Their main focus is to get into the playoffs, because once you're in the playoffs, you're in, right? And anything can happen. Now, do you want to play on the road all the time? No, but you can still win the Super Bowl being on the road. You really can do that. But I think tonight was a teaching moment about guys having to make plays when the play is available to them to be made. And that didn't happen tonight.
The problem is it just doesn't give you any faith that in the biggest games of their season, that these problems with beating themselves are not going to crop back up. Yeah. Because again, you had every chance here and you let it slip. You let go of the rope. And what evidence do we have over the last couple of years that this team is not going to do that again? That's the part that's so dispiriting, is it felt like they were turning the corner, going in and beating the Lions in Detroit to sweep them. That felt like turning the corner. To come up with a clutch victory against the Bears, that felt like turning the corner. I understand last week was weird. Everyone gets hurt. Things are going to happen. You come out and you play your asses off for 55 minutes.
They did.
And to just let go of the rope the way that they did is just, it's like, how can you do that? How can you do that? And the corner that it felt like they had turned, it's just, it seems obvious to me now that there's no corner to turn. That's not to say that they can't go into the playoffs as the 6 or the 7 seed and win a bunch of games. They still, would you rather be the 7 and go play Chicago or be the 6 and go play Philly? That's the question. Like,
you want to go back to Chicago.
I do. Yeah.
I think you're hell of a game.
Yeah.
Right.
I do.
Want that.
I do.
It could
because
very
they'll
well
win.
happen.
I don't know about Philly, but against Chicago, they'll win.
Yeah.
I mean, both these games were close, Coach, but it feels like there's two different completely levels to these teams on the playing surface. I mean, at Lambeau, they had 23 yards in the first half. They have the Bears that is obviously turned it around in the second half in that game. And then tonight, like Peter mentioned, you had mentioned, Coach, owning this game for 55 minutes. Peter, and again, something we can touch on later in the week, but I am curious because you mentioned letting go of the rope in the last few minutes of this game. Is this a Matt LaFleur issue with this Packers team getting in their own way? Like, where do you stand, with Matt LaFleur in these moments?
I've been critical of Matt this year and parts of last year too. I can't blame Matt LaFleur for Josh Jacobs fumbling the ball inside the 5. That's not a Matt LaFleur problem. I can't blame Matt LaFleur for Romeo Doubs getting a good bounce on an onside kick. Not even like it wasn't even an in-between hop, Coach. It was not like a ground ball to shortstop that eats him up. Like, that's not what happened. He got a good bounce and just whiffed it. I can't even blame Rich Bisaccia for that. And you guys know I'd love to blame Rich, but that's not on the coach. You have to go make the plays available to you. Now, the question I think that you're asking is really more about mental toughness. And is this team just not as mentally tough as they need to be? That may be that is a real question that we should be asking. But I think of Josh Jacobs as a mentally tough MFer personally.
Yep.
And so
Jordan Love,
Jordan Love gets hurt. I think Micah Parsons is really mentally tough, but he's hurt. A lot of these guys are mentally tough. A lot of them were hurt, or Matthew Golden didn't get a ton of snaps, got one target, and it was one that was batted down at the line of scrimmage. Well, would he have played more if Jordan Love had been the quarterback? Yeah, probably. Like, there's a cascade effect of some of this stuff too. And you don't get to some of your primo plays because, it's Malik Willis and not Jordan Love. And so there's just so many different factors here that I feel like the mental toughness of this team to get the 10-point lead to start with is a credit to them. And then you just had some weird stuff happen that goes wrong. I don't think this was about mental toughness to me. This was just about your core guys biffed it. And sometimes that happened. They peed down their legs, and that's going to happen. It can't happen against the best teams in the big games, and it did. And if that happens, you're gonna lose.
The thing is, Chicago was without their 2 top receivers too, right?
They were Roma Dunze.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, everybody's playing shorthanded, right?
Yeah, but quarterback's a little different, Coach.
Yeah, it is. But still,
and Micah Parsons is not playing Chicago.
Mid-game is a little bit different, middle of the second.
I'm just saying he was down some players too. Chicago was.
Yeah, nobody's healthy at this point in the season, but I think, Coach, if you're looking at it, and I'm not making excuses for the Green Bay Packers, when you're down your right tackle, you're down one of the best safeties in football this season, you're down the best maybe overall defensive player in Micah Parsons, and then you lose your quarterback who's been a top 3 MVP candidate just about a week ago. Depending on where you looked, I think that would outweigh what the Bears had to fight without tonight, but that doesn't make an excuse. The Packers, with an epic collapse in Chicago, they fall to the Bears in overtime. This one by a final score of 22-16. As we always do, it doesn't matter. Win, lose, or draw, we hand out game balls next. Thank you for making Locked On Packers your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. The Packers falling to the Bears 22-16, 9-5-1 now are the Packers fighting for their playoff lives. They fall, as it sits right now, a bunch of games yet to obviously happen on Sunday. They fall right now into the 7 seed. They were in contention for that number 2 seed and for the driver's seat in the NFC North, but the Packers falling apart late in Chicago, and they lose 22-16. We hand out our game balls, and gentlemen, I'm going to start us off tonight if you don't mind. And this one shouldn't come as a surprise to either one of you or those everydayers for the Locked On Packers, but my game ball is going out to Brian Gutekunst. And for one reason and one reason only, the only reason really, quite frankly, this Packers team stayed in this game and continued to carry on this game, and it was the backup quarterback, Malik Willis, who Goody traded for a 7th-round draft pick late last summer during training camp with the Tennessee Titans. Malik Willis coming through this evening. He gets an honorable mention, obviously, 9 of 11, a touchdown to Romeo Doubs, 44 yards on the ground. But I don't know where this team, Peter, is without Malik Willis at quarterback. He came in last year when Jordan Love tore his MCL or sprained his MCL, and all he did was win every single game that he was out there, and should have won, quite frankly, tonight. So Brian Gutekunst getting my game ball this evening for acquiring Malik Willis late last summer. And really, I mean, how comforting is it? I had a couple of Bears friends who are texting me and they're like, crap, I do not want to see Malik Willis out on this field right now. And he completely changed the dynamic of this Packers offense and what he's able to do. Coach, you kind of talked a little bit about him getting out of pocket and Peter talking about the rare traits that he held in that pocket, being able to scramble and really continue to move the sticks for the Packers offense. Obviously, Malik Willis getting an honorable mention for me. Caleb Williams, I thought the last 5 minutes of regulation and then including overtime was absolutely fantastic. But Brian Gutekunst getting it for me for going out and getting Malik Willis. Who knows, too, guys? I don't know. Every concussion's a little bit different. We might be seeing Malik Willis next week against the Baltimore Ravens. So Brian Gutekunst getting my game ball this evening for going out and getting Malik Willis and giving the Packers a fighter's chance in this one, and hopefully possibly next week as well. Coach, your game ball goes to?
You know, this pains me, guys, to give a game ball to a Chicago Bear, but Caleb Williams tonight, what he did at the end. What do you want? You want to have, when the game's on the line, you want to have in your playmaker's hands. And Williams had 2 touchdowns there in the last 5 minutes, and then in overtime. But you know, his numbers, 19 of 34, 250 yards. You wouldn't think it would look like that, but at the end of the game, he looked like the real deal guy.
And he has, unfortunately, Coach, because I've watched a lot of the Bear games this year because they always play. It feels like right before Packer games at noon. This has been their story all year long. But all year long,
though, right? I mean, he's the guy that's making it happen.
I mean, he had a walk-off touchdown against the Giants a couple weeks before they played the Green Bay Packers, and they did it against.
They did also get a walk-off field goal on a kick return. So that wasn't.
That's true too. Yeah,
I think they got like 8 yards on that last drive.
That's fair. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Peter, the Packers lose 22-16. Who you handing out your game ball to?
I think I was in the same place you were with this one, Brandon. I think Malik Willis gets the game ball for me, coming in and coming in cold, literally and figuratively. Right,
the heater's not working on the Packers side.
Yeah, I mean, ridiculous. and like whatever. Like, come on. But. He brings a different element to this offense. Mm-hmm. And I like the whole, you're a moron if you're doing there's a quarterback controversy or the offense works better with Malik Willis. No, it doesn't. Stop saying that. The reason it works is because he is the perfect change of pace quarterback to Jordan Love, who is a play from the pocket, play on time and in rhythm kind of quarterback. Malik Willis is a run, scramble, play action, shot play kind of quarterback. And so he can make those plays with his legs. That play he made along the sidelines where he dekes Tremaine Edmonds, gives him the ball fake, the old Brett Favre ball fake. Remember Coach Favre used to do it. Favre would be 10 yards down the field and he'd hit guys with ball fakes and it would work.
Yeah.
It would work.
Yeah.
And so like his ability, I think I said this after the Giants game, that I have been, because it was on a squad show. Maybe it was the midweek squad show after the Giants game, where I said I have been evangelized to believe that you need a backup quarterback that can run. Getting a backup quarterback that can't run is stupid, because you're going to ask him to run the offense worse than your starter. Get a opportunity on 4th and 1 to call a quarterback run or roll him out and he can make a play. I thought, if anything, the play where he fumbled, I would have loved to see zone read there, Coach. I would have loved to get him in the gun and give him an opportunity to either give or run, because him on the edge against any of these Bears, he would have been the fastest guy on the field against any of those Bears defenders. Give him an opportunity. I would have liked to see that. Not that I'm like going after LaFleur for the play call necessarily, but that would have been, I think you're using Malik Willis better there. So my game ball goes to Malik, and to Brandon's point, he might have to play. Like, he might be the starter against Baltimore in a game where the Packers absolutely have to win if they want to make the playoffs.
I agree. Good player. They gave him that on a naked too, right? And that they got closed on pretty quick on that. So, but yeah, zone read is tough, especially if you haven't prepared for it.
Credit to Caleb Williams. Credit to Malik Willis. The Bears, unfortunately, getting the better end of the Packers in this one, a 22-16 Week 16 win. The Packers now in the 7th seed in the NFC. They fall a game and a half now behind the Chicago Bears in the race for the NFC North. That'll do it for tonight's show. Friendly reminder, the Locked On Packers Squad Show and Daily Show, they are free and available wherever you guys get audio podcasts, as well as over on YouTube. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. For Peter, for Coach Jags, and for myself, we will sign off for now. We'll catch up later in the week. We'll get you all set for the Baltimore Ravens. And remember, our guy Peter Bukowski's got you covered all week long on the Daily Show. Make sure you tune in, make sure you listen, and make sure you subscribe. Thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in. Thank you for making Locked On Packers part of your day each and every single day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And as always, win, lose, or draw, even in a devastating fashion, it is always stay locked on Packers.